Thejrporter's pride and dignity stopped the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV, and just to warn you in advance, if you think I'm getting a musical accompaniment, it's just that old Liberace upstairs is he's in full swing, and I don't want to break his stride. Okay, so right, some of you may remember a few months ago I did a video which was about UFOs, a reply to Sargon of Akkad. Well, this is going to be a similar video. It's a video which is a reply to somebody about UFOs, and it's a reply to someone who's quite similar on YouTube to Sargon of Akkad. In other words, it's a subject he doesn't normally comment on, but he's decided to comment on it, and obviously I've got to comment back, just like I did with Sargon. And he's quite similar to Sargon in many ways. I'm talking about a YouTube user called Dave Cullen, who has several channels, but the main one is called Computing Forever. And despite its name, he only about 1 in 10 of his videos are about computing. His principal interest is, as with Sargon of Akkad, criticism of feminism, cultural Marxism. He's an anti-SJW, or men's rights activist, etc. These are his principal interests, and he does it very well. I like the guy. I think he's very good. He's very principled. He does a lot of issues to do with Ireland as well, because he's Irish. He does an awful lot about the upcoming abortion referendum, things like that. So yeah, he's a genuinely good guy, and he's very likeable, and he's honest as well. He was involved with the Kilroy event, and I think he's sincere. But of course, then he has to put photons to celluloid to talk about a subject which is outside his normal field of interest, which is obviously, well, I'll go through the actual video and we'll talk about it. So here we go. He's got all these nice graphics. I won't show you the actual video. The actual video, he's got like a bursting light bulb as part of his graphics. He's very good because he's a computer whiz kid, this guy. And I'm not zoomed in, am I? No, I'm not. Oh, you don't want to zoom in, do you? No, no. But anyway, sorry if it goes dark. It's just I'm using the monitor as part of the lighting again. Yeah, there's a lot of graphics on this particular video, and well, I don't want to actually show you the video. You can watch the video. There's a link in the description box, as always, to that. Okay, so you can just check that out. Where am I? Hang on, here we go. Okay, so let's just hear what Dave has to say about UFOs. There's lots of images here I'm not going to show you. What's important is what he says.
I don't usually cover this kind of stuff on my channel, and with respect to this particular story, I'm aware I'm a few months late to the plate. The footage... Not
quite, Dave. I mean, the UFO issue, I mean, he's going to refer to the sort of to the stars thing with the Luis Elizondo stuff, but you know, this is a perennial issue. You're never too late. It's never too late to talk about this. It's a perennial issue. It's still going on today, and it's still very, very much in vogue. And and there's a lot of current issues. There's a lot of current matters associated with it, which I cover.
The footage I'm going to be discussing today made the news back in December, but a patron of mine recently asked me what my thoughts were on it, and I thought, okay, yeah, I'll bite. Why not make a video about this? It might be...
Oh, Dave, maybe you shouldn't have.
...an interesting departure. So there are a myriad of UFO nuts out there who are going to tell...
UFO nuts? There are a myriad of UFO nuts out there who are going to tell you what, Dave? Because I'm one of them. I'm a UFO nut. If you're going to use that kind of terminology.
Tell me that I'm closed-minded for not believing the rather outrageous claim that Earth is being visited by aliens and/or the US government is keeping it all top secret.
Hang on a minute. I'm not calling you closed-minded. Well, I'm just saying that it's important to look at evidence. Isn't this... Okay, now you're kind of preempting this. Firstly, you're saying I'm a UFO nut, and people like me are UFO nuts. And secondly, you're kind of saying, well, they're going to call, aren't they? You're gonna call me and say that I'm, you know, this rather outlandish claim that we're being visited. Well, I don't know. I mean, as I said, this whole thing about you know, using words like outlandish and extraordinary to describe claims. If you watch my skeptic video, you'll know about this. It's kind of it's not, like I said, it's not really the kind of description you should use for claims. The evidence for each claim should be proportional to the claim itself. If the evidence exists, then it should be addressed. It should be taken seriously. It should be treated respectfully. I'll let him carry on.
In a bunker somewhere.
Yeah, well, he means the US government has decisive evidence in a bunker. Well, they do. Well, we'll carry on.
Read the comments on articles and videos about this subject. There's always a smattering of UFO enthusiasts who try...
UFO enthusiasts. That's slightly better than nuts.
to justify their belief that some ropey,
We're not justifying beliefs, okay? It's about evidence.
blurry, low-resolution footage of a blob suggests aliens exist, and that anyone who engages a shred of skepticism is therefore arrogantly suggesting that aliens don't exist anywhere in the universe.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, firstly, there's all kinds of different pieces of evidence for UFOs. I actually put a comment down here. I just put a comment down here, look. I just said, totally false. There was a massive amount of evidence supporting UFOs being real, multiple credible eyewitness testimony, official documentation, plenty of good photos, despite what you said. There's also other data, radar logs, etc. Astronauts in space have seen UFOs. Alright, so there's all these different types of evidence that exist to suggest that this phenomenon is real. Now, I'm not necessarily saying they're beings from the planet Zog that have come down to Earth and they're little green things with little scales or little black eyes, alright? It doesn't mean that's what they are for certain. Maybe some of them are that. I mean, there is evidence to suggest that some of them are indeed coming from other worlds, whether it be interdimensional or interplanetary. But not all of them are. I mean, it's possible we have generically categorised UFOs as a single subject when we shouldn't, maybe we shouldn't, but I'll let him carry on.
For example, a couple of comments from the Fox News Tucker Carlson report on this UFO footage from back in December. How can people ignore such stuff? I still cannot believe that people actually think we humans are alone in the universe. That's so effing huge.
Well, that's true, okay? That is a fallacy. I mean, in a sense, linking the possibility of life within the universe to the UFOs. Now, this is something where Dave is actually correct to actually call out the distinction between those two claims. And I do. If you watch my SETI and UFOs video, you'll see for yourself that I actually do address this matter, particularly, I really do. That saying there's life out there on some distant planet is different from saying, well, it's out there, but it's already found us.
I was happy to see Tucker say that it should be bigger. Ha. It is insane that folks think we are alone in the universe. This is bizarre thinking, in my view.
Yeah,
in other words, if you don't believe that this particularly questionable example of a mysterious and
he's showing the Tic Tac footage from the US Navy,
unexplained visual anomaly isn't proof of extraterrestrial visitation, then you must believe that human beings are alone in the universe.
No, all right, that's true. Firstly, there is something questionable about that video. Not that it's necessarily fake, but it's been tampered with. All right, Richard Dolan has just said that he was on the Black Vault a little while ago. Not the what's that program called? Not the one with Ryan Sprague. Oh, I can't remember it. I'm having a Porter moment. But he was on there explaining, how he was saying that it looks as if this has been tampered with. They've had extra. Some of the audio, for instance, has been added on afterwards.
It's as if they don't think it's possible for someone to believe that this footage is garbage and still believe that we're not alone in the universe.
If you explain why it's garbage, Dave.
Personally, I believe the universe is simply too insanely vast for human beings to be the only intelligent life out there.
Yeah, it's
Having
true.
said that, life is still going to be pretty rare, as evidenced by our own solar system. Just one planet that we know of that can sustain life in our own backyard.
Well, that's actually not true. I mean, if you watch my SETI and UFOs video, you'll find out that actually it's up to I think it was 70% of all the stars out there have some form of planetary system, and up to 17% actually have planets which are in the Goldilocks zone. In other words, they might well have Earth-like environments. So it's quite likely if you even 17% is a huge number when you consider the billions and billions of stars that exist, trillions, quadrillions. So there's all sorts of other evidence, including what Chandra Singh talks about panspermia and things like that. So which means that the universe is quite likely to be full of life.
Very few solar systems in our galaxy will have planets capable of harboring even simple single-cell life forms.
Not true.
To say nothing about complex life. Intelligent life is going to be rarer.
No, not true. Intelligent life, yeah. Okay, well, remember the Drake equation? Yeah. Okay, but look, and also, we're not just talking about the stars, other stars. We're talking about interdimensional. We're talking about parallel universes as well. Then you see the odds are multiplying and multiplying, Dave. You're dealing effectively with infinity. It would be what would really be extraordinary. It's physically possible we are alone. It's physically possible there's no intelligent life close enough possibly to reach us. But statistically, it is like the example I gave in the SETI video, winning the lottery 10 times in a row and expecting people to dismiss it as coincidence.
Still, an intelligent life capable of building a viable, technologically advanced civilization will be even more rare. A spacefaring civilization will be even rarer. And that's just considering...
We're a space-faring civilization. Even if you don't take into account the secret space program, as I've explained, the British Interplanetary Society has a working design. It's a design that could be built today of a ship that could, a spacecraft powered by nuclear explosives that could reach the nearest stars.
During our own Milky Way galaxy. Now, the odds of life existing out there in some form become greater when you consider other galaxies, but few alien species will ever develop the capability of traversing interstellar systems, to say nothing about voyaging to other galaxies. So, though there may be many inhabited planets across the cosmos, most of them won't evolve sufficiently to become spacefaring civilizations. I would be very surprised if human beings are alone in the universe.
Yeah, I'm sure very few people think we're actually alone in the universe. But again, if you take into account the evidence of UFOs, which I know you're going to dismiss, then it fits in perfectly with the idea. If, for instance, there may be other civilizations out there much older than us, okay, and we as humans have designed a starship that barely half a century after the first flight with a heavy and air aircraft, then why is it so extraordinary that they haven't reached us? It's like I said in the SETI thing, you know, oh yeah, there's life out there, it's all over the place. Some of it's been around much longer than we have, including intelligent life. We're building ships, spacecraft that go into space, but on no account can they ever reach us.
But I would be even more surprised if this footage turns out to be an example
of an
alien
footage.
Spacecraft. I'm pretty...
Well, the Tic Tac footage is a mystery, okay? Not saying it's an alien spacecraft, we're just saying, according to the witness, including the pilot, there's something weird going on here. And I know, the whole to the stars thing is a little bit dodgy, I know, and I take that point. I know for a fact that they've been showing fake photos. Steve Mayer has proved a photo wrong. That is this Eccles photograph of these balloons, and they're showing it to the stars. All right, that's a big subject, right? But just, but the thing about it is, that's just one little piece of it.
Be open-minded about this stuff, but not so open-minded that I lose my faculty for logic.
Well done, Dave. Well done. I thought you were going to drop the cliche on us, and then I'd have to respond with an equally I'd have to respond with. I thought you were going to do it. I thought you were going to drop the Carl Sagan cliche, and you didn't. Congratulations. Because then I'd have had to respond with, yeah, but the plural of anecdote is not data. And then and everyone rolls over laughing.
Logic and reason. Many people want these things to be true.
Many people want them not to be true as well. As I said, as I said in my Skeptics video. I'm going to put a link to the bloody Skeptics video down there, actually. Because I'll do it now. I'll bloody forget if I don't. If I don't do it now, I'll forget. But I'm going to put a link to my Skeptics video in the description box. I'm going to do it now. So see here for more background. Okay, and I'm going to put a link to the Skeptics video in the description box. There we are. Okay. Where was I? Yeah.
Want to believe, as Fox Mulder.
Good, but people want not to believe too. As I said, it's a two-edged sword. People who deny UFOs are often suffering from wishful thinking too. I'll explain why in that video.
I would say there's a high degree of wishfulness going on with these.
Yes, there is for the people who don't believe in it as well.
Before we look outside the box, let's look inside it first and see if a simpler, more terrestrial explanation is more likely. So let's talk about this particular case. U.S. military releases classified footage of unidentified flying objects tracked by Navy pilots. Later, we'll discuss how this claim is likely not true.
Well, is it? Hang on a minute. Look, unidentified flight. U.S. military releases classified footage of unidentified flying object tracked by Navy pilot. Why is that not true? There was a Navy pilot. They tracked an object. They couldn't identify it, right? Then why is that not true? Are you saying it was an object that they could identify, or it wasn't an object? I think what you're extrapolating here is the claim is that they were tracking an alien spacecraft from the planet Zartog. That's what you're extrapolating here. Well, that's not the claim being made.
Footage of unidentified flying objects tracked by Navy pilots. Later, we'll discuss how this claim is likely not true. U.S. fighter jets were sent to investigate a mysterious flying object as it hovered over the coast of San Diego. Previously classified footage has revealed.
I'll just skip through this.
Mantle was killed chasing after 80 years of UFO he couldn't have possibly known about at the time. U.S. Air Force pilot Captain Thomas Mantle was quite familiar. Air Force and commercial aviation.
All right, I think he's just reading through all this. One moment.
Pilots have been reporting for to the whitish oval as it glided above the Pacific Ocean. This story does sound quite familiar. Air Force.
Okay, all he did was just read through the basic starting thing.
Air Force and commercial aviation pilots have been reporting for many years unexplained objects in the sky. In January of 1940.
Yeah, I mean, there's what about Ray Boyer? He saw a massive yellow object. I mean, there's Captain Terrahucci who saw an object 20 times the size of his aircraft, and he was flying a Boeing 747. Are these people all mad? Are they all deluded? Are they really going to risk their careers for a prank, Dave?
The U.S. Air Force pilot Captain Thomas Mantle was killed chasing after a UFO, which turned out to be a skyhook balloon.
What? The Mantle object? Really? I don't think that's... I've not seen that, but I mean, I'm sure I would have heard if that is some kind of explanation like that had come about.
Top secret project that he couldn't have possibly known about at the time. In 1953 in Kent, 2 Royal Air Force fighter pilots encountered an unidentified object that was described as disc-shaped. However, in most cases over the past 80 years of UFO sightings, such mysteries have been explained eventually as top secret aircraft or reconnaissance drones. The footage...
Well, maybe sometimes it's a double bluff. Sometimes it's like the Project Mogul thing with Roswell. It could be that you see these, in a sense, it's a kind of default position. You assume it's some kind of top secret aviation project, even though there may be less evidence for that than the UFO. It's some kind of extraterrestrial craft. I cover that in more detail in one of my other videos. I can't remember which one it is. I'm sorry.
Footage was studied by a secret multi-million-dollar program tasked with investigating between an apparent object roughly the size of the encounter was...
Okay, I'm just skipping forward where he's just simply reading through the details of the Luis Elizondo thing, which we already know about. I've discussed it on the Steve Mumbling videos. All right.
From 3 years before the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program was established. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, the object was about 40 feet long. I have noticed shifted attention that suggested a more mundane and plot which looks easily faked and not particularly. It accelerated like nothing I've ever seen, he added.
All right, he's just got to the bit where he's finished reading through that.
Admitting he was pretty weirded out. The Pentagon said the AATIP closed 5 years ago when defense officials shifted attention and funding to other priorities.
So they say. I bet you something like that is still going on though, because they denied it in 2011, didn't they? With the disclosure petition 2, the White House petition 2 from Grant Cameron. Remember that video I made then?
To me, this footage looks easily faked and not particularly compelling.
He's talking about the Tic Tac footage. Well, the thing is, it looks easily faked. The thing is, what can't be faked these days, Dave? What can't be faked? I mean, your own videos have quite extraordinary, very, very good graphics. So you know, anything is... This is the problem. Anything can be fake now. That's the problem. But there's other reasons for considering this is not fake. I mean, there's the pilots, the fact that the pilot spoke out. Unless as some people have suggested, the whole thing was fake because it's fake UFO stuff that's been put into the media. But again, you've got to ask why they would do that. It's true. There's reason to believe this might have been tampered with, as Richard Dolan was saying. But it doesn't mean the actual thing was faked.
There were even a few comments that suggested a more mundane and plausible explanation. Joe...
Well, I don't know about plausible. Okay.
Shimakatelli writes, I'll bet a buck that the video was a hoax set up by an enlisted electronic technician who simply rigged the FLIR display to see an infrared energy source. When bored, we wrench spinners routinely screwed around with the more ignorant officers with bizarre technical ruses just like this. Anyway,
really? So, well, a U.S. Navy technician on an active deployment would really play some kind of prank like this? Let's not forget that the pilots actually chased this thing. The pilots actually, you know, these Navy pilots, they might have had to fly quite low. They might have had to carry out some radical manoeuvres. These things are dangerous. This guy Joe Shmukacelli, right? He's a electronic technician on the ship, or on the USS, whatever it was. I mean, he's confessing to this. So what's happened to him? Has he been arrested? Has he been court-martialed? Has he been given a couple of, has he been given a few weeks cleaning out the shithouses or something? I mean, what sort of punishment has he had for this? Why did he confess? So you screw around the more ignorant officers. So these pilots will be fooled by something like this, will they?
Anyway, that's just his opinion, of course, but there's a reason why I'm reading this article from The Independent, because they're an example of one of many publications who haven't done their due diligence on this story. Wired, on the other hand, have managed to throw some cold water over much of the hysterical frenzy that the media has generated regarding this footage.
Hysterical frenzy? Well, yeah, for some cold water. Well, it's... In fact, some of the reporting has been better than others, I must say. Some of it has been hysterical. But generally, I mean, the ufological journals have treated this very professionally. Which I know, Dave, you don't read those, do you? I'll send you a copy of Nexus.
They highlight a few missing links in the narrative chain. The Pentagon program was run by Luis Elizondo, who told Wired he took the lead position in 2010. Wired was unable to verify that Elizondo worked on AATIP.
Oh, right, this is interesting because Richard E. Hall was saying that there's some problems with Elizondo's testimony.
But Pentagon spokesperson Adrisha Harris does confirm that he worked for the Defense Department. The AATIP team, Elizondo says, took strange sighting reports from pilots, as well as associated data like camera footage and radar returns, and tried to match them with known international aircraft signatures. What we found many times was the fact that the aircraft did not belong to anybody, Elizondo says. Sometimes, he says, the craft displayed behavior the AATIP couldn't explain.
Right, well, that's what UFOs do. That's because they're unidentified. But again, I mean, if Elizondo is lying, well, that's possible. But then why? If this is some big hoax by the government, which is a possibility, why is that? I mean, I'm going off tangent here a bit because this is probably beyond the scope of Dave's point, but I thought I'd just mention that.
Here's where things get interesting regarding these recently released videos. If they were officially declassified, they would have to have been classified, says Nate Jones, director of the Freedom of Information Act project at the National Security Archive. And a classified video would likely have a marking at least at the beginning and end, even after it was okayed for public consumption. Someone at the Times, @to the stars, could have cut those introductory and closing seconds from the video. But why would they do that when both groups were emphasizing the direct from DoD legitimacy of the videos?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I've never thought of that.
It looks very strongly like these weren't released through any proper DoD declassification channels that I've ever seen, says Jones. I've seen a lot of DoD declassification in response to Freedom of Information Act, in response to mandatory declassification review, in response to proactive disclosure, and it doesn't look like this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this would fit in with the idea that this is a hoax, that this is actually disinformation by the government. The whole thing, from start to finish. Again, now you'd have to ask the question, why? Is it some kind of safety valve? Is it fake disclosure? What is it?
Elizondo maintains that he believes the videos were not classified, just held in a classified system, and that the usual DoD release process hadn't been followed for public release. Numerous outlets have reported that the Pentagon is the source of the videos, but Pentagon spokesperson Adrisha Harris points out the official who is authorized to release this video on behalf of DoD did not approve the release of this video, she says. She's adamant, I stand firm that we did not release those videos.
So where do they come from?
Which means that although the videos may have originated within the DoD, which Harris acknowledges they may have, there's no public proof or Pentagon acknowledgement of their association with AATIP. Well, that's a big stumbling block for this story.
I don't know if it's a stumbling block, but it adds... I think it adds something to the story. I think it's an important piece of research. It's only a stumbling block if people within the UFO community are, as you try to characterise us, Dave, nuts, who just want to believe it's an alien from the planet Zigapong.
The credibility of this footage and the claims made about it can certainly be thrown into doubt, in my opinion, and I think it's about to get worse for this story. And in any case, one of the Times video credits has since changed. Wired contacted the Times reporters in late December, asking them to comment on how the paper obtained the videos, and the Defense Department's denial that it had released them. Reporter Ralph Blumenthal replied on behalf of the three co-authors in early January, "We don't discuss the processes by which we obtain information," but he added, We have official documents showing the origin of the videos and the process of review provided within the DoD before they were released. Interesting. However, the Times went on to change the caption of the lead video. The page now simply says the first video is by, not courtesy of, the Department of Defense. There's another source for the original video, which is To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, co-founded by former Blink-182 member Tom DeLonge, longtime paranormal enthusiast. The company wants...
Paranormal enthusiast. No, this kind of language is just really ridiculous. However, you know, that's... Tom DeLonge, I think, is a genuine guy. I mean, he's been interested in this sort of thing for a long time. And he runs a bookshop. And I know someone who lives near him and has been to the bookshop. It doesn't stop Roswell Rising or Roswell Revealed yet, but I'm sure it will be soon.
To collect data on unexplained phenomena, maybe even building out tech based on what they observe. Oh, and sell books, music, and movies related to their efforts. It also, coincidentally, now employs Luis Elizondo. Elizondo says he wanted to speak about what he says the AATIP team had seen, but he did.
Some people are comparing, for instance, To the Stars Academy with just the Disclosure Project, Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project all over again. Now, I interviewed Stephen Bassett on HPANWO Radio. He denies that. He says it's a different situation. There are parallels, there are comparisons, and there are also differences, but I know the more kind of hardcore disinfo spotters among you will probably say the whole thing is fake, this whole thing is rigged. And I mean, I'm sort of coming more around to that position now, although it doesn't quite fit all together. I'll say more about that maybe later or in another video.
Didn't think that was possible from within the Pentagon. So he resigned in October 2017. He says, signing on with To the Stars soon thereafter, although Wired's Freedom of Information request for Elizondo's resignation letter, which was quoted in the Times, turned up no records according to the Office of the Secretary of Defense Joint Staff. Also, coincidentally, To the Stars launched a video-centric site on the same day the Times story came out, carrying the same 2 fighter jet clips that appeared with the article.
Yeah.
This is all starting to sound a little bit dubious, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they launched the video. Yeah, they launched the site on the same day, which means how long did it take them to build the site?
Community of Interest page says the videos come from the Defense Department and have gone through the official declassification review process.
So what I'm saying is either the To the Stars Academy had access to these videos before they were published, or they created them
and have been approved for public release. Further, it boasts that the Academy can prove it with chain of custody paperwork. To the Stars showed Wired the paperwork, but Pentagon spokesperson Adrisha Harris said an approval from DOPSR does not equate to public release approval. To release AATIP videos by the book, someone would have to coordinate with the Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs, so the videos on To the Stars don't carry any more weight than the same videos published by the Times.
Right, yeah. So it looks like it didn't come through the channels people were expecting them to come through, and that is odd.
There's literally no information to confirm that these videos were part of the AATIP at all, and there's also no reason to believe the footage has not been doctored in some way. But what about Dave?
Well, Richard Dolan has said it has been doctored in some way, and he doesn't completely dismiss these as fake.
David Fravor's interviews and his appearance on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. Well,
David Fravor's the pilot.
As the Wired report goes on to say, it's true, a Navy pilot named David Fravor did give an account to the Times of his 2004 experience with a UFO, and an unnamed source provided a report in September 2017 of the same events to the Stars Academy. But squint just a little to see that there's no definitive link between these accounts and that video. The witnesses give a description of an alleged strange event, and the video shows an encounter with a strange object. But without a time and location stamp of some sort, viewers can't know whether the witnesses are actually describing what's in the video. And beyond that, there's no definitive link between this video and AATIP.
Well, so did David Fravor actually not? I mean, we see in the video, in the various news reports, you see David Fravor sitting there with. I mean, you know, you've probably seen the news reports, and Dave Cullen is showing it here now. You get like Tucker Carlson. There's the pilot, David Fravor, and then there's the recording off the video, okay, with the To the Stars Academy on it. But was Fravor not actually watching this and saying, yes, that's what I saw? Yeah, I mean, if he hasn't, if in a sense he's been tricked in some way, that would be very suspicious.
In other words, we just don't know if David Fravor's account of a strange event in 2004 is actually related to this footage on screen. And
it'll be easy to find out. You simply sit him down in a studio and say, look, Dave, is this your footage from your plane? And he'll say yes or no.
The validity of that footage, how it was sourced, its chain of custody, whether it was ever part of the AATIP, all of that is extremely questionable. Wired have to be commended for their thorough investigation here. It seems a lot of publications dropped the ball on this one. People will ask, well, Dave, if it's not a UFO, then what is it? What's your explanation? Well,
yeah, I mean, but it is a UFO because you can't identify it, and it's flying, okay? Unless it's fake, which anything could be fake. But anyway, Dave, you have your say.
I don't know for sure, but if you're going to substitute a lack of
good answer.
Evidence with a God of the Gaps argument and say, if in doubt, aliens, then...
He's just flashed up a picture of Georgios Sakalas going like, aliens. But no, I mean, and no sensible researcher would actually do that. I mean, that's not... You're right. I mean, that would be a bad piece of research. It really would. Okay. It's... All right. But if anyone who does that is wrong, that's bad methodology. But then... I wouldn't say don't try to strawman the entire UFO research community in that way, if that's what you're trying to do.
And go right ahead. I have no reason to believe this footage isn't a hoax. At the end of the day, you should look at this for exactly what it is. Some ropey, low-quality video. It certainly looks fake to me, and the story surrounding it...
The thing is, you know what the Tic Tac footage looks like. And the thing is, people say, well, that could be fake. But of course, yes, it could be. Anything could be faked. All right, yes, I see what you mean, Dave. All right, you made your point there. I don't know what it is. I mean, you said you don't know what it is. Let's just carry on.
Its release doesn't give me any reason to believe otherwise. Even if it's real, even if this is real, I can hardly deduce aliens from it, can I? UFO has come...
No, I mean, it couldn't. However, if it's real, if it can confirm that David Fravor, the pilot, was involved with this, whatever it was that actually photographed this, whichever filmed it, which he must have done, he must have seen it by now, and he says, yes, I was flying that plane, I saw the thing, that's my gun camera footage you're seeing there, that makes it a lot more interesting. Has that been done? I mean, surely he must have seen it by now, and he must have realised there's a link between his testimony and this particular video, in which case, if it's not, he must realise he's been tricked, and he would have said so.
To mean alien spacecraft, whether we like it or not, and it shouldn't. It should mean unidentified flying object.
Yeah, the thing is though, if you see a structured craft, especially if it lands beside you and creatures get out of it, it's not a helicopter, it's not it's not a plane, it's not a balloon, it's not a drone, it's not something you can identify. You see it close enough, in a sense that it defies explanation. In other words, it is the kind of object that you would be able to recognise if you were close enough to it. Alright, if that is the case, then the idea that it's some kind of an object created by some kind of non-human intelligent civilization is a hypothesis which I think holds some validity, and you have to consider it. To reject it, because, well, that just, in a sense, is what I said before in my skeptic video about raising the bar and all those other fallacies that skeptics use.
Not every visual anomaly or artifact can be explained. You're welcome to speculate.
I know. Yeah, you're welcome to speculate.
However, though outrageous claims about extraterrestrial visitors will require some serious evidence. The problem with you...
But that evidence exists, as I explained. I even put a comment on the video just explaining why. I mean, thing is, Dave's a really good YouTuber. This is the first video he's ever made I've had to thumb down.
UFO conspiracy theorists is that they make use of confirmation bias when it comes to their analysis and research.
Not all of us. I'm a UFO conspiracy theorist. We don't always use confirmation bias. I mean, I personally really make an effort to avoid it. As I've said, I've taken an interest in the skeptic movement. I've read skeptic books. I listen to what skeptics have to say about this subject. I mean, who doesn't have bias in this world? Is there anyone who can honestly say, put their hand on their heart and say, I have absolutely no bias at all. I'm purely and 100% rational and objective. I don't think they can. We can only do what we can to avoid it. We can limit. We can resist. We can take steps to contain and manage our own biases. But that's all we can do, Dave. That's all we can do. And I think I am making an effort to do that.
Start from the position of believing that these UFOs are real alien spaceships and work backwards from there.
No, that's not what I'm doing. That's not what any serious researcher into UFOs does. If anyone who does that, and there are people who do that, they're not serious UFO researchers.
Some of them are more genuine than others. They'll debunk obvious fakes, but the unexplained stuff goes into a category of, we couldn't explain it, so we'll insert an explanation of, it's aliens. And they think this is how the scientific
Every time he says it's aliens, he puts up Giorgio Tsoukalos.
method operates.
Do go and watch it, actually, because it's really good.
Method is more like that of religious faith. This is why people of different superstitious persuasions see different things. Some will look at this and see aliens, others will see...
He's showing the Tic Tac footage again now.
Demons or fallen angels, for example.
Well, it's funny, you're partly right here, because these UFOs aren't just the product of post-1940s science fiction. What we describe as UFOs today have been seen since time immemorial. People have been reporting them for as long as they can without being burnt as witches, and they appear in old paintings and old stories, and even in cave art from thousands of years ago. The earliest UFO report I can think of is the narrator of the book of Ezekiel in the Bible, which was written sometime around about 1800, 2000 years ago, or maybe even earlier. Because what he's describing, what the prophet Ezekiel is actually describing, is what we would call a UFO. I've covered that on previous videos. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, the way we interpret these phenomena is culture specific. That's true, but it doesn't mean that therefore the culture specific aspect means they're not what we have deduced them to be, especially nowadays when we have more awareness of the universe than people who came up with the demons and goblins theory did.
In all of the decades of supposed reports about UFOs, the footage has never been particularly convincing in my view. Strange.
Oh, but I could show you any number of pieces of footage, pieces of evidence. I mean, just go through my Exopolitics UFO disclosure videos. That's the light keeps changing. Go through my Exopolitics UFO disclosure videos. All right, there's footage, there's photographs. There are pre-Photoshop images of these sort of things. I've explained witness reports, there is testimony, there's documents, there's radar logs, there's everything. There's astronauts who've seen them.
Lights at night in the dark from great distances that are too ambiguous to accurately identify is about as good as it gets.
No, it doesn't. That's not true.
The rest is eyewitness testimony, and we live in times where most everyone now has a smartphone capable of HD video recording, if not full 4K capability. So I want some hard proof, thanks for...
Yeah, the thing is, Dave, I mean, it's true. The ability to record images is more prevalent than ever. However, also is the ability to fabricate images. And this is where we come into the big problem, the big signal-to-noise ratio that we have in the UFOs, which is also present in, for instance, research of the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and ghosts and things like that. When the temptation to create a fake image just to get your name in the papers exists, and people, unfortunately, will not resist that temptation. A lot of people won't. And that creates a cry-wolf situation, which is a problem, I admit. That is a big problem. It really is.
Very much. Your word is not going to be enough for me. Many sightings...
No, I wouldn't expect you to. I wouldn't expect that either. Simply someone saying something they saw something is not enough. They need, well, firstly, it can be good if you can analyse statements, single witness statements, and if it comes from someone who has a track record for honesty and has no motive to lie, and you could put them on a polygraph or something, then we should at least look at it. But if, for instance, the Phoenix Lights, for example, of 1997, thousands of witnesses. Now that's not going to be that's not going to be a bunch of drunk guys out there who just come out the pub at night, which you'll be familiar with, won't you, coming from Ireland? Sorry.
Have been explained away as experimental aircraft, of course. If at some point someone releases UFO...
Sorry.
I want some hard...
So I'll go back a bit because I interrupted him in mid-flow.
Proof, thanks very much. Your word is not going to be enough for me. Many sightings have been explained away as experimental aircraft, of course.
Yeah, and many haven't.
If at some point someone releases UFO footage or pictures that look something like this, then yeah, I'm gonna...
It's a screenshot from Independence Day of a giant spaceship hanging over the New York. But Dave, it could be Project Bluebeam. Have you heard of that one?
Say, now that looks like an alien spacecraft. Come back to me when you have something like that, when you have something with that level of detail. It seems...
That's, well, look, come on, there is, you know, that's not being fair. I don't think that's judging evidence fairly, as I've already said.
Strange and very coincidental that we have all of these supposed sightings and UFO videos and photos, but they're always from miles away. Dots of light in the sky from great distances.
There's that diamond-shaped thing that Nick Pope showed. Even Nick Pope said that was real.
Let me know when you've got
I can go on.
Independence Day type stuff flying over New York or London, and then...
Even then, people would say that was fake. I mean, honestly, it is.
Then we can have a chat about E.T.
I think that's pushing it too far. Anyway, Dave makes a lot of the same points as Sargon of Akkad, and as I said, I'll put a link to Sargon's video in there. But I think he needs to learn a little bit more about the subject, I would say, and I'm happy to. You can go through my catalogue and see my various videos on UFOs. Read UFO Truth magazine, things like that. And if he's really interested and he wants a bit of entertainment as well, he can read my novels, Roswell Rising, A Novel of Disclosure, and Roswell Revealed the World After Disclosure. Sorry, shouldn't be all these plugs, honestly. But it's a big, complicated subject, and I think Dave has misjudged the issue here, I think, and he needs to be made to stand corrected on that. But I did enjoy going through that video. It was fun. I do like watching videos from people I don't agree with. And most of the time I do agree with Dave. Dave, as I said, subscribe to him, look at his other stuff. It's really good. He's very wise, and I think he's a decent man. I think he's honest. Please do check out his other stuff. Alright, I knew that's another UFO reply video. Thank you for watching HPANWO TV. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.